we have a problem, and round and round and round, and it doesn't solve anything. Do your play on the field. I don't care. Let's just fix it and solve it. So I want to go deep into a strong renewal process. We're going to talk both personal and commercial lines because, in my humble opinion, they're about 85% the same philosophy, mentality. The timeline and a few of the steps are just different. And I think in so many agencies, we complicate this personal lines versus commercial lines thing. And I don't think it needs to be that dissimilar. In fact, most of the way you're going to track it in your management system is the same. Most of the ideas are the same. The letter might be different. The tone, a few of the questions might be different, but the format, in our opinion, is generally the same. So here's what I know about most agencies and renewals. It's this like Shangri-La luxury item. Like we hope to get proactive at renewals, or we do sometimes, or we do when the rates go up, or we did it in the past and we just can't keep up with it. Honestly, I think it causes a huge scramble. Renewal is your time to shine to clients, and it should look like a beautiful ballet of everybody in sync and connecting with the client and making sure things are accurate. But for so many agencies, it feels more like my golf swing, like a scramble and a disaster. I think that renewal process leaves either a good or bad taste for people in their mouth. And for me, what I see so many times is we renewed it this year and we think we're safe, but next year they go shopping. We want to dive deep in this blog that's connected to this podcast. We hope you go to our blog. We have a whole written process for personal and commercial lines in this blog, totally complimentary to everybody listening. So if you're driving, running, make sure you put a little note task to yourself to go check out the blog. You can find it in the show notes, or just hop onto our website, head to blog, and it'll be the one that's posted for September 12th, 2022. Some people might be listening to this from the future. Who knows? But I want to stop by saying, what are some of the ways that we see the renewal process fail? Like epic fail of renewal process. One of the biggest ones is there's nobody dedicated in an insurance agency to managing the timeline of the renewal. So we set out this process, and then because people get backlogged or this needs to come ahead, we operate from the idea that this is a recommendation of the timeline, and it's not. The renewal process needs to be a priority in everybody's day, but it often feels like a luxury item because this burning building is coming in, this 911 call is coming in. And I encourage agencies so frequently to think instead about, are we 911 operators, firefighters getting called into action all the time, or we fire preventers? And the renewal process is fire prevention, albeit 60 days of pain to get everything flushed through the pipeline and straightened out and take back control of the ship. It can happen when we are intentionally focused on managing a timeline, but someone in the agency has to be held accountable to working with every team member and ensuring every client is on track for the renewal timeline. If they're not on track, we know why, and we have a plan to remedy it. So I'd like to say, there really is no captain of the ship. It's written down, and then everybody kind of goes their own direction. Another epic fail renewal processes in insurance is confusion in roles, which is, what does the producer do? What does the CSR do, or account manager? What does processing do? Who does what? Because all producers may want their renewals to be handled differently, or carriers do things differently, or the team does things differently. We have all these variations of the renewal process. So think about it. We have a carrier, a producer potentially, an account manager involved, and a client. There is 4 variables that can knock right off the rip our renewal process over. And if we're treating every renewal like its own little snowflake, it has its own custom process, it's impossible. Mostly it's impossible for account managers to know how 10 carriers renew things, how 8 producers want to do things, how all the different clients want to handle things. We need one way, and everybody knows their role. I'm going to quote the famous Bill Belichick here, the Patriots, which is, do your job. Everybody has their role in the renewal. Focus on what you do, and that's all you need to focus on. Don't worry about this. Don't overstep here. Don't understep here. do your play on the field. But too many agencies don't already have that set up. So what ends up happening is it becomes chaos and we start ad hoc renewing things based on this, based on that. I like to say if it's Taco Tuesday, there's a full moon, I'm wearing pink, and the person's name is George, we do this. Impossible, 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 impossible. So it kind of goes into our next one, which is every renewal is a snowflake, which we kind of talked about that. I'm going to talk one more time about the confusion in roles. I also want to know who to hold accountable. So if we're late on the renewal, who should we hold accountable? Because I will say this, fingers get pointed. The producer will say, well, the account manager got it late. The account manager will say the company got it late. The company will say, well, we didn't get what we needed from the client. It's just like one big scramble. And I'm like, I don't care. Let's just fix it and solve it. And that's another reason why I have to have roles. Well, who is responsible for working with the company to get it on track? If it's off track, what is that person supposed to do? Raise their hand to a manager, a leader, the underwriter. I'm okay if everyone follows protocol and something is off track. I'm not okay when we don't follow protocol and things are off track. That's something we have to fix. Another thing, and this just happened recently, and I happen to love this person, and I understand why. And I actually believe her when she says this, but I'll go into agencies, we'll start talking about the renewal process, and inevitably the renewal binder comes out. And it's this 3-inch thick binder with pages and pages of printouts, with highlighters of yellow and pink and purple and green and fuchsia, and every color means something different. And then there's little teeny tiny notes written in the margin because we love seeing a page full of highlighter that they've all been handled and renewed. And I understand why, because a lot of management systems we have some distrust in. But we can't manage our renewals from a printed report and highlighter. All of that needs to be in the management system. If you want to use a binder as redundancy, all more power to you. If I ever catch in a client that the management system is not updated and that binder is, we have a problem. The binder is also not accessible to everybody. It's not real time. And ultimately, if there was a fire, something happens, your renewals are MIA. We pay too much money to our management systems to not use them for what they need to be used for, which is tracking your renewals. If you're unsure how to track your renewals in your management system, in our agency retention program, we have fully written guides and videos for AMS 360, Epic, HawkSoft. So if you're not on those systems, call your system, watch the training videos, and get going. The next one is what we call an epic fail in insurance renewal, the renewal scramble. And I see this all the time. And I'm telling you, it's costing your team stress, it's costing morale, and it's not the customer experience that you want. And typically, it's the byproduct of the throwing fingers where everybody is blaming other people. But the renewal scramble is that the renewal process got off track from the get-go, and either it got off track early on, or we've been running behind, so we didn't start the process on target because we were so wrapped up in another renewal scramble. So we go through the renewal process, and now it's like days before renewal. We're begging underwriters for pricing, the producer's scrambling, the account manager's scrambling, the client is scrambling, and we tell them they owe us $100,000, and all we've done this, and we have to have it in 2 days, otherwise they don't have coverage. And then we're going ahead and trying to get all the paperwork signed. Inevitably, something's wrong, and then we have to go get certificate. It's been a long week. It's just a huge disaster. And what happens in the scramble is, I guess the yawn means I'm so over the renewal scramble, by the way. What happens in the renewal scramble is all the other renewals get pushed aside because we have to get this one renewed. So we start late on the next ones and the next ones and the next ones. And all we are doing is creating chaos and chaos and chaos and round and round and round. And it doesn't solve anything. The team is stressed, the client's ticked, producer's not selling because they have to go renew this policy, the underwriter's scrambling and they're not able to get their renewals, and we just keep perpetuating the same problem. People, if I could give you one gift in the world, it would be to end the renewal scramble that we're all in and work hard. Now, you'll push back and say, well, the underwriters are delayed. I say, perfect. There's no excuse for us internally to not get out to market on the day in our timeline. The underwriters can do what you have, but if you have an impeccable record and you're sending in what you need, you earn the right with those underwriters to ask to be bumped up to the top so you can stop this. If you're sending stuff down the pike 15 days before renewal, 30 days before renewal, you will get what you ask for. So don't blame the underwriters. This last one of the renewal fail actually was sort of a light bulb moment for me. I was working with an agency and we're having this discussion about the renewal process, and they're a great agency, like totally have adopted our time management program, just really on track with everything. The staff's a little greener, which is good because they're smart and green, with little moldable clay. But I realized because one person made a comment, well, I just only really need payroll and these other 2 or 3 things to renew the policy. So do I need to be making a phone call to everybody? Can't I just email them and get updated payroll? And I had this light bulb moment of, we haven't gotten to the place where we get it yet of having them understand that this is about a renewal experience. So a renewal experience is, let's talk a little bit about what your business has going on. What's your plan? Have you made any changes? A renewal experience is prepping people for the market conditions of rates going up. A renewal experience is looking at their claims. A renewal experience saying, why don't we have your workers' comp? A renewal experience is scrubbing the account for everything. The mentality I think a lot of people have is instead, let me get what I need to renew the policy. That's my job. So we take it more from a task than an experience point of view. I renew the policy, I got what I need, but we leave so much opportunity for an improved experience for our clients that that's something we truly want to solve with a strong renewal process. I love it if everybody can just take a minute and go to our blog, look at the renewal processes that we have. I'm going to run just a few highlights for you guys, just so you're so excited that you want to come to this blog, right? So we use our standard format for processes in when we set up this blog. So our standard format has a mission for the process. So this is, why does this process exist? Then we have the desired outcome. So if we complete this process successfully, here's what it looks like. It's sort of like casting a vision of what that should be. We also put in all of our processes the unacceptable actions. So it is not cool if you don't call renewal 60 days in advance. It's not good if you don't follow our checklist. It's not good if you don't ask questions because you don't think the client's going to want to hear it. So we actually keep building on that as we find things and clarifying it for people of like, you've hit a boundary 100% when we hit here. And I find that to be really helpful. Then we have our steps to making the process ridiculously amazing. So you can kind of see the whole outline. People like grids, but on the commercial side, we do break the renewal process into 2 to 3 chunks based on size. So you're going to see more of a generic renewal one, but great starting point. I start renewal process 120 days out in commercial. Now from 120 to 90, that's our alert. This is coming up. So if the client calls in, if there's anything that's funky, if we have an opportunity to wow them, we're on high alert. Like this one's coming down the pike. And we can also take a little time to get even more proactive on it and do some advanced pre-renewal items. I also like to take a look at that 120 to 90 days or 90 to 60 days. Again, every timeline is a little bit different based on the size, to Google the company. A lot of underwriters are doing Google underwriting now. And so I want to know in advance before we go into question. I want to make sure the management system is updated with the best information. So many agencies, we come up with like a checklist, like check, do we have email in the right spot? Check, is there a signed application? Check, is it coded a tier 1, 2, 3 client? Whatever it could be. It's also important that to me in commercial that the initial renewal meeting happens before we have rate. I see a lot of agencies that will go in, well, I've got the policy, let's talk about it now. And I say, well, we should probably understand their business plan, changes to get out. So we might be able to adjust that rate before we have it, not just scramble around and say, here's the rate, what do we want to do about it? We also enjoy in the commercial process moving people to one renewal date. So I have seen people with 10 policies all on different days. I'm like, oh my goodness, if we can do it all in one foul swoop, you're happier, the client's happier, it's win-win. We also have people pull what we call the certificate requester list ahead of time so that way we can see who they're partnering with the most. That's a lead list for producers. And honestly, as a good agent, I want to make sure that those companies have the right insurance for my client. So that's a big, big opportunity. We do encourage for a good renewal process that people lean on e-policies and get on EFT or pay in full. I think that that's another just easy win, reduce work in the agency, improve the client experience. The final thing that we talk a little bit about as a highlight is understanding and getting with the client what they want. So I know for me, if somebody was going to shop my account and they said, well, when would you like to hear it? The underwriters are a little backlogged. What's comfortable to you? I would probably say 3 weeks. And at 3 weeks, if we had something we liked, we'd just go with it. I don't think I'd wait till the buzzer beater, but so many people wait till they have everything in before they go talk to the client. And I think that's not honoring what a client may want and making it easier on ourselves. We do suggest that you get a renewal strategy going with the client so that way there's no confusion. Personalize just a few highlights. We actually think that account managers should be making the renewal review calls and keep producers on new business. We want to lock that relationship down. We want to clean up those accounts. That's more of an account manager role than producers. I like when we make renewal calls and personal lines on download. I know many agencies feel differently, but I like the idea that either on on an e-policy, we're getting the rate at the same time, or mail policy, I have the rate a few days in advance. In personal lines, we're not trying to make it about rate, but I want to know what I'm doing. So I know what I have to do on that renewal call as well, whether it's discounts or whether it's taking a look and understanding the why of the rate. If we do too early and there's no rate, it can flag a second call. If we do too late and they already have rate, that causes some other issues. We do recommend having a pre-renewal checklist. This gets you your game plan for the call. And another reason why that's so important is in personal lines in particular, you're going to leave a lot of voicemails, which means that when that person comes back in a week, you need a document that you can get your head back in that account quickly and know what you're recommending so you're not fumbling around. I can't say this enough, but it's important in both personal and commercial lines that the team stays on track with the renewal calls. They will snowball. This is not easy. And the first 60 to 90 days are by far the hardest. So we don't want to scramble. That means that there has to be someone in the agency managing the timeline for these renewal calls. We do in personal lines love EFT and e-policies. Again, we're never probably going to back away from that. And it's just important to get the updates from the client, understand what they care about. I think that that's some of the most critical information that you can gather. It is simple and easy when we have the right strategy. So that is our story with renewal review calls and a good renewal process. We do hope you check out the blog. There's actually discounts in the blog for some of our renewal processes. You can get our free remarketing checklist of how and when to remarket people, because that's part of a good renewal process. We don't want to do it too much or too little. It's like Goldilocks out there. And if you're interested in getting proactive renewals up in your agency, that's what we specialize in. I've been doing that since I started the company. We kind of have a little following on it. It does change the game. It reduces remarketing, increases retention, increases cross-selling, coverage increases. Your team actually grows to like them. I think we're at like 92 or 93% of people wouldn't go back to being reactive after 6 months. It's a hard program to get up and running, and it's better to do it with a specialist. So if you're interested and want to hear more about our retention program, definitely drop us a line, give us a call. We'd love to chat with you. And for all of you guys out there, we're going to sign off. Let you go read this blog, let you go find out what your renewal strategy looks like right now in your office. But we're here because we're agency owners' best friends. So if you need anything, just give us a call. Thank you.